I would say we got a lot of teaching done this year. I think it was very instructional, educational off season. Um, with obviously with Vicky, there were certain things that we couldn't do. There were certain things that we obviously did well with her presence. And so, with 11 of our 13 players going into this year being freshmen and sophomores, the opportunity to kind of tweak our offensive system, to kind of get back to who we've been defensively for the past however many years. It was just a lot of teaching this summer and a lot of really seeing some growth and improvement in our returning players. Um, we kind of joke about how young we are with 11 of our 13 kids being freshmen and sophomores, but we might have the most experienced sophomore class in the country, because not only do you have Faith Ihim and Jordy Gilbert and Jordan Doyle, who all played a lot of minutes and were all starters at one point or another last year as freshmen, but then you bring back Kaylin Mayberry, who would have been our returning leading scorer last year. She went through a redshirt season this last year, and you've got Kaylin coming back to us. Bria Pitts will become eligible this year as well, and she's a transfer to us from the University of Arkansas, where she played her freshman year. And so it just a lot of experience in that sophomore class. And then one lone junior in Dorottya Balla. She's like the old lady grandma of the program now as a junior. And then we've got Blair Bryce, who's a fifth-year senior for us. And Blair, very similar to Vicky, she's coming in with 1 year. She graduated with her undergrad from Belmont University, and then she's getting her master's in early childhood here at ORU. Well, that's the whole goal. That's the whole goal. I started my head coaching career when I was 40 years old. I'm not chasing Pat Summitt's records, or it's really about the bottom line is, as long as we are in a conference, be it the Southland my first 2 years, be it the Summit League now, home to the Summit League. The bottom line is that we have to win our conference tournament in order to advance and get to where we want to be. And so the opportunity in the non-conference to play BCS level schools that we will hopefully emulate some of the things that we're going to see in Sioux Falls in our conference tournament as well, because our goal is to beat the home team in Sioux Falls for the last game of conference tournament play. And then at that point too is that you've already seen some of the big BCS opponents in our region, and so you're kind of emulating a potential first round NCAA tournament game as well. So the November and December part of the year can really beat you up, but we also talk about constantly, here's why we're doing it, here's where we want to go, and here's what our goals are, and this is going to pay dividends. It's all 0-0 again when you get to December 31st.
Well, last year, honestly, I was kind of nervous playing or starting even in the games with other college players. It was my first year, so starting all those games this year, it's helped my confidence. I'm more comfortable in the games, and so I know what it's like now, so I won't be as nervous when I'm playing this year.
Well, in the beginning of the season, I was expecting it's gonna be harder, but since we really have a good freshman and sophomore class, it just makes everybody's job easier. I can rely on my teammates, they can rely on me. We just helping each other out. So I'm feeling it's a role, but I'm feeling this is a role like as a team, not just for me as an individual.
Absolutely. There's kind of an old saying in coaching, and at least we always say it here at ORU. The best day of the year is when the freshmen turn into sophomores. And we even joked about that coming home from our last road trip game with the WBI this last spring. As we got off the bus, we're like, you're sophomores now. The next time we get on the court, you're sophomores. And this particular group, Jordy might be our most improved player, Jordy Gilbert, from her freshman year to our sophomore year. Jordan Doyle is in the best shape of her life. She had an amazing offseason as far as her conditioning and how good and strong she looks. I mean, she just makes things look so easy right now in practice. And then Faith, Faith probably put on a good 7 to 8 pounds of lean muscle, and she looks like she's probably about to go, run in the World Track Championships. I mean, she's just in fantastic shape as well. And Faith is maybe one, especially, that she was always a go-to scorer in her high school program. And this last year as a freshman, she was unstoppable in our last game of the season, and for her to be able to start at that level where she finished off, this last year. Now this year, when I go to her and say, Faith, I need you taking 14 or 15 shots a game, she's like, okay, coach, and she's got that confidence and that understanding of what that means this year. No, I would say that my expectations are exactly where they were with her a year ago, and maybe a little bit higher, because I just have had a year to be with Jason now. We just know each other so much better, and relationships are deeper, and understanding of what makes her tick, and kind of how to motivate her, and kind of uh, how to push the right buttons with her. Jason might be one of our most gifted athletes, but now at the same time, she's a freshman, this year. So she's going to have to go through a lot of the same, I don't know if they're growing pains or, whatever we call them, but she's going to go through some of those this year because as much knowledge as she gained watching last year during her redshirt year, now she's putting it into action for the very first time during her college career. So there are days I have to kind of get onto myself a little bit because I want to talk to her like a sophomore, and then I'm like, okay. And you just kind of know that she's got to kind of experience, and there's going to be times that she's going to make some mistakes, just like Jordy and Jordan and Faith did last year as freshmen. But I lump her into that sophomore class all the time because that's how long we've had her. But Jason will be that player, I think, very similar to Faith last year, to where she's going to show glimpses of it throughout November and December. And I think by the time we get to conference play, she's going to be a force for us.